From the City of Angels, you are listening to the James Salazar Media Podcast. On this week's episode, we're going to talk about pop culture, politics, and futurism, of course. So let me strike the music and I'll meet you on the other side.
Engage.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Say hello to my little friend.
No, I am the Father.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Oh, yeah. We're here. We're back. James Salazar Media, where you get your dose of pop culture, politics, and futurism. I am the formerly mentioned, the media, James Salazar Media. Hope everyone's doing okay. It's been a while since I've been here. 2 months. But it's not for naught. Alt for naught. I don't know. I don't really know what that means. Not for naught. All for naught. All for naught. All for naught. Yeah, I've been working on stuff. I started 2 playlists on my YouTube channel. One of them is called Intellectual Anarchy. And the other one's called the Brightburn Academy. And I started a Facebook group called the Brightburn Society. No, wrong one. Get that guy out of there. So I've been busy. So let me just take these out of the way so they're not distracting us from my handsome good looks. So it's been a while. A lot of shit has happened. So let's get into some of it. Kanye West has went crazy, basically. And everybody's canceling him. He's losing all his endorsements. It all started with this White Lives Matter stunt. Now, I get what Candace Owens was doing and why he supported her, and they both wore this, is because Black Lives Matter is very problematic in the sense they've took so much money and gave little out to anybody else into the community. They just thought they should get paid almost $80 million just to say Black Lives Matter and not give any of the money that would help Black lives. Well, I don't know any, but they kept the majority of it and pocketed it. And Candace Owens has been on this tirade, rightfully so, about their hypocrisy. Kanye West is sort of done with these leftist movements himself. So he joined her and put White Lives Matter. Not so much that white lives people need to know that. It is just to combat Black Lives Matter and how divisive they are, and how really they don't help black people. They're just looking to profit off the misery of black people. So it was there to expose that. And Candace Owens sort of aligned herself with Kanye West, and then he goes on a couple shows and starts to do a tirade on Jewish people, how they control everything, the same trope of anti-Semitic rants. So when you know somebody could be clinically insane, who has problems, and you hook your tractor to them, well, obviously Candace Owens probably regrets that now that he's saying anti-Semitic remarks when she's pro-Israel. She should have known. And you got to be careful. And it's good. It was good at first, but then now Kanye West is being canceled by everybody and anybody. And at the end of the day, it is hypocritical. There's so much said in rap music. There's so much said from politicians that are so anti-Semitic. There are politicians that endorse certain groups of people and give money to certain So people who are clearly anti-Semitic, but they're going hard in the paint after Kanye West. Number one, because you shouldn't say that stuff. Number two, because you broke off from the plantation, and the slave master is going to punish you. And there's no better punishment than the one you deserve. So when you're going to break off and be someone who was for this type of mentality and then turn your back against it, you got to watch your P's and Q's. You got to say, everything you say better be on point, because they're going to hang you by it. You see, liberals don't have to say sorry. They can say all the stupid shit in the world and everybody just gives them a pass. They can dress up in blackface and nobody cares, right? Joy Behar, Jimmy Kimmel, they can dress up in blackface, doesn't matter. Because when a conservative says something and when a conservative does something, we are held to a higher standard than the liberals are. We can't make the same mistakes as liberals do. We can't. We just cannot. And that is a little bit unfair, but I'm proud to be held to a higher standard than everybody else. Personally, our words have more weight, they have more consequences, and we are intelligent enough and smart enough to be careful with our words. We're liberals, they don't think very past their last thought, and they can say all kinds of crazy shit, and nobody cares. Everybody laughs it off, and they don't have. It says liberals never have to say they're sorry, because nobody really puts any value to what they say. They know they can say stupid shit, and they won't be called on it. Conservatives are naturally held, even by liberals, to a higher standard, and we should keep that standard. We should be proud of that standard, even though it comes back to bite us in the ass when we say something stupid. But we should hold ourselves to a higher standard than the other party. See, if we say something that is a tad untruth, we get destroyed for it, and rightfully so. They can say all kinds of shit, because liberals need to lie about their agenda to get it across, and liberals need to lie about conservatives to discount what conservatives believe. Right? There's a saying. It goes like this: liberals get mad when you tell the truth about them, and conservatives get mad when you tell a lie about them. And it follows right in line. Liberals believe truth is relative. If you believe truth is relative and it varies to each individual, then the lie is relative. I can say you lied, I can say he lied. It's just relative. I think it's a lie. Where conservatives believe in absolute truth, so we held ourselves and we are hung by that mentality, and rightfully so. Liberals don't value truth. They value wins. They value influence. They value influencing the majority, and if you have to lie to do that, they're perfectly okay with that, as long as their agenda gets. This is why they, like democracy, right? Where you can influence people, whether it's true or not, to vote a certain way through democracy. Democrats, democracy. Republicans, laws. Laws are absolute, right? So you'll hear a Republican always say, we are a nation of laws. And Democrats always say, we are democracy. Because they know because your agenda is stopped when you're a nation of laws, but if you're a nation of democracy, you can always influence people to change a law. And a lot of times, you can influence people to give up their rights if you scare them enough. We saw this in COVID, right? People are willing to give up their rights that the government never had the ability or the authority to do, but we let it happen because we were afraid. And I let it happen because you were afraid. We all did that. And then We saw the hypocrisy, and we saw the lies come out about the efficacy of how good the vaccine was. It was untested, and it didn't stop you getting from COVID. It helped you recover from it. But they said it stopped. They said masks helped. It didn't. It was too contagious. It didn't help at all. Fauci even said it's best that we congregate together so we can get herd immunity. And then pull back and act like that didn't happen. So a lot of lies went out, and it convinced us to give up our rights for a while, which we're now getting back, thankfully, and the American people are very frustrated over the thousands of jobs that were lost, thousands of businesses that were closed. That didn't need to be. And the governor of Florida showed that didn't have to happen. And your businesses can thrive. We just got to be a little bit more careful. As opposed to California, where thousands of jobs were and thousands of businesses were shut down completely and unable to recover. And thousands of jobs left because of the draconian laws. We're seeing the truth come out. None of those draconian laws needed to happen unless your mentality is to control people for their own good. Well, that's good in Europe. Doesn't play well in the United States. And we'll see what happens in the selection cycle. Because if the Democrats win, let me tell you, they will be emboldened that any disaster that it is right, it will be a referendum either to tell them that they were wrong or to tell them they were right. What do you want to tell them? You want to tell them that it's okay to shut down your rights and close down businesses in a natural disaster? That's a choice you're personally going to have to make. So Kanye West stepped out of the party line and he said something stupid, and that gave everyone a license to cancel him. He should have been smarter, but, he takes a lot of drugs. He takes a lot of drugs to help him not be insane. And when he doesn't, he gets manic and says crazy stuff. But after a while, sometimes it reveals something about yourself. It doesn't make you do something crazy. It makes all the guards in your heart be released, and you start speaking on things that you wouldn't tell. There's a saying I hold, and everybody should think this way, because you should know what you believe. There's a lot that I say. There's a lot I believe that I would never say. They're my personal thoughts. But you'll never hear me say something I don't believe. That's how you should judge my words. There are things that I believe that I would never tell anybody. It's not constructive to tell them. This is my own personal thoughts. And I'm not going to share them. But when I do say something, it's thought out. Well, that thing that says there's a lot I believe that I would never say, that thing that keeps me from saying those things, that gets lost in Kanye West. That border, that barrier seems to go away when he's off his meds. And he says things, even if he believes it. I'm not about controlling people's thoughts or words. And there needs to be consequences when you say something horrendous and you got to fill the air about society, whether you should say something. I rather, if people are cordial and nice, they don't have to like. I don't need them to like me. I don't. They can hate me all they want, as long as they respect me. And they might be respecting me because of society's reaction if they didn't. But nonetheless, if they can act like a human being in society with respect and respect other people's thoughts. I don't care what they believe. I really don't. They can believe what all they want. They can say all they want within reason. So Kanye West said something, and he challenged them whether they could cancel him, and they met that challenge, and he's been canceled by 4 or 5 things. He's lost $2 billion, he said, in the last couple of weeks. I hope he was smart enough to save his money, because that's the thing about what you call fuck you money, right? You can say whatever you want, right? And he needs to take the route of Joe Rogan. He needs to build a platform himself. If I would suggest for him, he should go to the direct to his fans. He should stop depending his money on these corporations to give him to buy his stuff. I know he wants to be a clothing mogul, but he sort of almost killed that. And he can still do clothes. It's just not going to be in department stores. But he can make just as much money. I mean, Joe Rogan's made almost $200 million just being a podcaster. So by no means is he devastated. He's rich. He's super rich, and he can get a podcast and create a platform where he can say whatever he wants, and the fans who like what he say will gather to him, and they will still buy his music. Maybe less people will buy it, but there's a lot of other people that will. A lot of people that will stop buying it, but other people will. But that's all I want to say about Kanye West. Elon Musk took over Twitter, fired the head of the corporations, I think like 3 people, cut them, and he's looking to cut out some other people, and basically it was a left-run organization with the idea of controlling speech when it was supposed to be a platform for free speech. And it was a blatant lie. They only like left of center people speaking their mind, and anybody that was not left of center, they're right of center, they would censor. So Elon Musk buys it, makes it back to a free speech forum. And he recently implemented a fact checker, so everybody tells the truth. Here's the thing. Leftists lie a lot, actually more than conservatives. And there are fact checkers who just check facts, not with an agenda. So Joe Biden recently just said some stuff on Twitter, and the fact checkers fact-checked his statement, and it came out that he wasn't telling the truth. Now the fact-checkers are not agenda-prone. It's just free speech and fact-checking that's going to be on this platform. Some of the limitations is that they're probably going to label people who say racist things, that they're going to say there's troubling things on this website that could be construed as racist, but not censor it. Anybody probably going to shut down anybody who calls for violence, which is reasonable. And that's about it. And there's going to be a equal fact-checking system. If a politician says something, or a celebrity says something, or an individual says something, and if it's true, it won't be fact-checked. It won't be corrected if it's true. But if at any point, if it's not corrected and is dealing with a situation in society, they're going to be fact-checked. So you're going to see conservative, liberal, Republican, Democrat politicians, celebrities being fact-checked when they say shit, which should be true. Everybody should be fact-checked. If they say something, even me. Because a lot of people say things that may not be true, but they thought was true. At least that's for me. I try not to deliberately fool you. If I say anything that's not true, I hope it's fact-checked, and I will make the correction if it is true. Or do my research, And if they prove that what I said is wrong, I'm humble enough to say, hey, I want to make that correction. I don't want to tell lies. But like I said before, some politicians run their organization based on lies. And now we're going to see the truth. There's so much that Donald Trump said that were ridiculous. And that's the problem with Donald Trump. He over-exaggerates. He's the exaggerator in chief. Well, he was. And that's going to be very hard for Trillis because they're going to have to correct him when he exaggerates. He tells the truth, but then he exaggerates it. It's not a blatant lie. He pushes it beyond. Like, I'm the best, I'm the most loving people of races. I don't know if I believe that. I doubt that he believes that. But he says it nonetheless. And that might be fact-checked. But I don't know how you fact-check a statement like that. If he feels that that's true about himself, I don't know. But Elon Musk buys Twitter and turns it back into a free speech forum. This needs to happen to YouTube. And I hope YouTube will realize that they will get more money and they will get more people watching if they let people speak their mind. See, I want to know if somebody's racist towards me. I don't want them to be censored. The problem is there's always truth mixed in lies. And always some lies when someone's giving some truth. And we have to disseminate that. And if you're someone who likes to be told what to believe, I can't help you with that. You got to be into the truth, whether it aligns with your values or not. And if you need to be in a bubble where you only hear the things that you like, or you're only and you're never challenged, and there's some people like that, and I get that. At moments in my life, I don't want to hear nobody else's ideas. True, it's true. I don't want to be deterred on the journey I'm on. I just don't want to hear it. So I avoid those people. So I know what it is to put myself in a bubble and not hear any other ideas. But that's not intelligent. It's not. And it is not conducive for growth. And we should always have growth. So Tesla comes out with a robot. Now, I don't know if you saw the original robot. It was all sleek and it's humanoid. It looked like a Tesla car if it was a human. And then he comes out with this janky looking shit. It like has servos and like pulleys and like a fan. It's like, that's a bait and switch. I'm like, what's going on here, Elon? You mean you showed us one thing and you're coming out with this thing? This thing's all janky. Walking out like Madonna with her cane when she went on the Emmys. I don't know who told her to wear a cane. Hey, yeah, you're 60 years old. I know. Go on stage with a cane. You look pimp like a rapper. No, you're gonna look like an old lady with a cane. Come on. The only person that should wear a cane is a shot rapper. That's it. If you've been shot. If you haven't been shot, you ain't a rapper, you shouldn't be wearing a cane if you're 60 years old. And that's what this robot was looking like. And it is a bait and switch for sure. That thing looks, compared to what we thought was going to happen, it looks pretty janky. Now, if we saw that without the other thing, we'd probably say, oh, so that's how far we advanced. This is what a robot is today. But he came out with this thing. He was like, it is janky as fuck. Come on, Elon. Don't be pulling. Come on. You can't do that. You should at least put some shielding on it that hides all the servos and pulleys and fans like a MacBook. Can you imagine if a MacBook just had its case open and we're just looking at the hardware underneath? It wouldn't look too good. You could, you know. If that was a car, it doesn't have any bumper or shield, hood, whatever. Just do something. Make it look better. I mean, you made a cool design in cars, right? What the fuck? Why would you come out with that? Why would you do that? Didn't anybody look at, oh, yeah, people want to see the inner workings of a robot. Man. That was bad. Goodbye, Twitter. Don't know what the hell you're doing with that robot. Fix that shit. Put some clothes on it. Make it look. Have you seen Boston Dynamics? Those shit can dance the waltz. Have you seen them? They do flips in the air. They kick it. And it stabilizes itself. I mean, what the hell? What the hell? What are you doing? Come on. Do better. Do better, Elon. Do better. Come on. You know, part of technology, and you were like the leader of this, part of technology is making it marketable for the masses. That's why you're a billionaire. Because of Tesla. Because you made good-looking cars. You're going to need to make a good-looking robot. The one that you presented us with. Bait and switch like a motherfucker. Mad at you. I'm a fan of yours. Mad at you. Mad. AI created an image of what Chris Farley would look like if he played this Joker. Looks pretty cool, huh? He'd probably play a really good Joker. Unfortunately, he's dead. But it's very interesting that AI is thinking about those things. A little bit of pop culture and science. James Earl Jones now is letting Darth Vader be voiced by an AI. So pretty much they got all the sounds that they needed for him. I'm pretty sure they called him in and have him speak a bunch of words, plus processing the words that are already in the film. And James Earl Jones' voice will be used for Darth Vader ad infinitum. So he will always be the voice of Darth Vader, and nobody will voice it other than him. There's probably people who have the same timbre somewhere, but he's locked that in for himself. They probably paid him a pretty good money, but I think for posterity, that from here on, Darth Vader will always be voiced by James Earl Jones, whether he's alive or dead. And now he's letting it happen because, you know, as you get older, your voice weakens. So AI will now, an artificial robot will take all the sounds that James Earl Jones makes in the movies and probably had him read, and it will produce the voice of Darth Vader with James Earl Jones' voice forever and ever. As long as, I don't know how many stories we can tell with Darth Vader. There's a whole period of where Darth Vader can go through all kinds of shit, but that's good. I only want to hear his voice. I wouldn't like it if it changed just the timbre if somebody else played Darth Vader's voice. It's one of the most iconic character voices in cinema history, in world history. Darth Vader will live forever. Let me see what we have here. Oh yeah. So NASA shoots a rocket at this asteroid called Apophis to see if it can nudge it. It successfully hit it, which was a monumental task. And you can look it up on the NASA website. They're very proud of it. It was a success. It hit. And it did move it a little bit. I don't know if it would move it out of our way if it was headed our way. But it's the first attempt by humans to stop intergalactic threats by a comet hitting Earth. If we can catch it, and we can nudge it, as you know, when you nudge something, you nudge it just a little bit. The distance from its original course gets further and further away. And if we can catch something, we can pretty much save ourselves from an asteroid event, something the dinosaurs couldn't do. They got screwed. They got jacked. They saw it coming, and that was the end. Now, but that doesn't solve one problem. It's because we only watch 10% of our sky. 90%, something might be coming at us, and we might see it too late, because we just don't have enough satellites to watch the whole universe from our globe. And we're only watching with all the satellites all over the world about 10% of our sky. 90% is being unobserved. So you go to NASA right now, and you can be an amateur astronomer, and you can get a section of the sky and monitor that sky for any asteroids or comets or aliens for that matter. And you can do that as a hobby, as well as doing something for mankind. And that's what that, what was that? Deep Impact? Wolf Biederman? Their astronomy class was looking at a section of the sky that nobody was watching, and the kid caught an asteroid. What luck. Only happens in the movies. Okay. So, take a look at that. They show it hit, and then static screen after it hits. So, it's pretty impressive. Way to go, NASA. Oh, the new electric Dodge Challenger looks dope as hell. I didn't know if I want to talk about it, but it's still here. I have it here. So, that was dope. It looks amazing. Completely electric. It's coming out. As you know, our society, part of our society is being forced to go without gas, but part of our society wants it. And it is coming up with cool concepts for cars that are going to make people buy. But they have not, nobody wants to deal with making a $20,000 to $30,000 car in that range that is electric. The technology is too expensive to justify that payment, that cost. It needs to be from 30 to 40. And our society will be revolutionized when whoever can make a car that is electric that can be purchased at around $2,200. I mean, $22,000. That would be revolutionary. People would buy that. People would not like to be on gas. They would like to use the energy. And people will be more apt if most of our cars are by electricity. We probably want to have nuclear power plants, because they are the most efficient form of energy right now. You cannot be for the environment, and I'll tell this straight to any environmentalist, you cannot be for the environment and not want nuclear power. It's cleaner than anything we have right now. And now we can take the nuclear waste and we can repurpose it for something else now. That has never, it has always been the issue, because it would be like in a container this big, and they would have to bury it. And they just didn't like that. They'd rather have carbon in the air than bury some nuclear waste that have little or no impact on the environment as much as carbon does. But now we can repurpose it. Nuclear energy is the most efficient form of energy right now. It will be the most efficient form in space, too. Most likely, if we're going to mass produce spaceships, and you want to own your own spaceship, it's probably going to be nuclear powered. Because all the special stuff that the government will be using is just way too expensive. Or corporations like SpaceX we're going to use, it's just way too expensive. It can't be for everybody. But nuclear power can. You probably get a little bit of a nuclear power into a case. And it's just as volatile as a gas tank. Gas tank can blow up, and so can but a nuclear powered engine is less likely to blow up. We use them in our submarines underwater, so they're safe, and there hasn't been very many problems. We have had them for about 50 years, and most of the problems happen on the Russian side because they like to cut corners. But that's here, not here and there, here and there. What am I doing? Yeah. Cool car. Let's get into a little bit of pop culture. So, 2 TV shows competing. Fantasy TV shows. The Ring of Power and the House of Dragon. Watch both of them. And we got to take a break. Commercial break. Sorry, this is visual for all those who are listening, but I think I talk about it really good. As you know, this podcast now can be consumed on YouTube. Hey everyone, it's James Salazar with James Salazar Media. If I can just have a moment of your time to talk about some things that I'm doing and some free things I have for you. Let me talk about my Intellectual Anarchy show, where we engage in extreme truth, extreme common sense, and diversity of ideas, where we talk about philosophy, religion, and politics, because I think they're inseparable from having a successful life. We also have the Brightburn YouTube Academy, where we talk about the belief systems and principles in being an entrepreneur. We also have the James Salazar Media podcast, where we talk about pop culture and politics and futurism. Some free things I have for you. We have the Brightburn Society Facebook group, where you come together with people with like-minded goals, where we maximize your illumination by maximizing your human potential. That's free. You just got to join. I also have a free ebook for you called How to Be Great at Everything You Do Blueprint. Just download that. That is free to you. Also, you can check out my coaching services and my speaking services at jamessalazarmedia.com. Everything will be in the show notes of this video. Also, I have a QR code right here. You can take a picture of that and it will link you to everything I have. So that's all I have to say. This is James signing out. Have a good one. Okay, so House of Dragons and The Lord of the Rings, The Ring of Power. Now, these are 2 different type of fantasy shows. Both fantasy, but totally different. One's more adult, one pretty much above 7. People can watch it. Above 5, maybe. People do die in both. But how people die in both matter. And The Lord of the Rings, The Power of the Ring, it is written by R.J. Tolkien, and the House of Dragons written by J.R. Martin. Hold on. Sorry, George R.R. Martin. All these one-letter names. I digress. One, people are fighting against evil. The other is more about political gamemanship and trying to overthrow certain powers, trying to play the Game of Thrones. The first book, Game of Thrones, story of Song and Ice and Fire, is very much a king dies and all his brothers and all these people who feel they have a right to the throne go to war. And that's what happens in the Game of Thrones. A lot of betrayal, no character is safe. And we see this in the, and in the story, the Game of Thrones, just to give you a little bit of foundation, there was a family that usually ruled over 1,000 years. They ruled until the last king went mad and tried to kill everybody. And they came to power because of dragons. They could ride dragons, right? But in the Game of Thrones, all the dragons are gone. And there's one surviving person from that family. And that person is called Daenerys Targaryen. And she was able to bring three eggs back. Someone gave her eggs and they were hatched, and she got 3 dragons. And while these other people are fighting for the throne, she is taking over the rest of the world with these dragons, eventually going to go to King's Landing and take over the throne that belongs to her family. That's the story of the Game of Thrones. But there was no dragons in the beginning of the Game of Thrones. And the House of Dragons about how mostly all the dragons were done away with because of a civil war within a family of the Targaryen family. And they go to war with their dragons, with each other. And a lot of dragons died and pretty much left them with no dragons. So their time was going to come up because they lost their dragons and they really didn't have to deal with them anymore. That's why in the Game of Thrones, Jaime Lannister kills the Mad King. He probably would have never done it if that Mad King had dragons and heirs that could burn up his whole family's fortune. He would have to roll with it. That's all to say this. We got this new show, House of Dragon. It was a little slow, but it needed to be a little slow. And they said it was going to be a little slow because they need to set up the intrigue. And we have 2 different time zones when it was young and when they're older. All the crazy stuff happens when they're older. All the stuff when they were young sort of set the foundation. Here's the thing. You ended up falling in love with the actresses and the actors in the first half of the season, the first 3 episodes. And then they get rid of all those actors, they're all grown up, and then you have the second half. And you feel like you haven't really connected to the characters that you did. Because at the end of the day, you're connecting with actors as well as the characters. And when you change the actors, it just didn't feel right. And not that the other actors were bad, they're great in their own right. But it could have been done way better. Though I prefer the younger actresses, well, maybe the Rhaenyra, I prefer the younger actress. She's very charismatic. And not to say that the older one isn't. It's that I would have preferred, for the sake of the story, that they started with the later actress and then referred back to certain events. Because we didn't need to have it so heavy. And there could have been scenes, flashbacks, that could have been revealed to make the story much better. It sort of took the mystery out of it, right? We knew exactly what was happening. There was no backstory that was interesting, that you wanted to reveal things. No, it all happened. They showed it all happened in the first 3 episodes, and then they do this time jump, and then they're dealing with the eventual consequences of what happened back then in the present time. And here's some spoilers, right? It would have been a lot more interesting to know that Christian Cole, the Queen's protector, was actually Rhaenyra's protector, but they didn't. He stopped protecting her because they had sex, which made him feel like a lousy person and going against his word and honor, but the queen kept him alive to be useful to her. That would have been great to find out. When that had that whole backstory would have been revealed. That would have been amazing. Would have been amazing that the backstory of the prophecy of the of Aegon's prophecy, which is eventually made for Jon Snow, for that to be revealed, that her father revealed that to her. It would have been awesome for us to think. Here's another spoiler. To stop that. That we were also in the same belief that the queen's son, Aegon, is the son of promise. When we realized that's not what it is, and it was revealed that he told that to Rhaenyra of the prophecy of Song and Fire, Ice and Fire. So it could have been done much better. It really dumbed it down. And also, we know in the books that the Rhaenyra's gay husband becomes problematic, and they end up killing him. In this, they go for this woke thing and they make him survive. Or like they pretend that he died and they go off and live their own life as a homosexual couple. And doing things like that, just unneeded. It's not the world of the Game of Thrones. It's not the world of George R.R. Martin. People die, and they die drastically. Even people you like and support. That's what's great about the show. That's what's great about the show. So it went slow. At the very end, there were some couple of battles in it, a lot of dragons, and a climactic thing happens at the end that ensures war. And pretty much the next season is going to be a lot of dragon fighting. And I think probably the next season will be a lot of dragon fighting, and then there's going to be a lot of land wars because dragons are like nuclear bombs. I mean, they can destroy a lot of shit. And they may not want to destroy the whole kingdom. And more intrigue. And we got a crazy king. So far, not as bad as Joffrey, but an unwilling king. So we'll see how that plays out. And a brother that's willing to step up, but just not in the position to. So a lot of cool things. It's very adult. A lot of sex in it. A lot of adult themes. But out of 5 stars, out of 5 potatoes, it gets a 4 potato. Couple things I didn't like. And one other criticism, you're not sure who to root for, and I like that about that. But these character changes happen too quickly. Like suddenly the queen becomes, you sympathize with the queen, and then she becomes like pretty like weird and out of control, and then Rhaenyra, who keeps on making emotional mistakes all the way through her life, is suddenly becoming the leader that her father expected her to be, and you don't see that change, because when that happens to people, when people make that become something that they weren't since the whole time of their life, there's got to be certain events that make that happen, and we weren't privileged to those. I don't know. I haven't read the book, so I don't know if George wrote a gradual changing, or he didn't, and maybe he was just telling some story, just arcing story points in the history of the Targaryen family, and it's up to the writers of the TV show to bring nuance. But I give it 4 potatoes. Now, The Lord of the Rings, The Ring of Power, is pretty much telling us how Mordor came about, how the rings came about, goes deep into this previous evil person called Morgoth, where Sauron was his second-hand man, and when Morgoth got defeated, Sauron came in, and how they differ. It seems like Sauron's more pragmatic in the sense that he just wanted to rule the world, and under his thumb, where Morgoth just wanted to destroy the world. And so Sauron feels like he's a better person. But we get this character, Galadriel. If you notice in The Lord of the Rings, he's the one that is the pretty elf that Frodo offers the ring to. And she goes crazy like, oh, don't give me the ring, don't give me the ring. Oh, I survived. I can go to the Undying Lands. I didn't give in. And it tells about her story. And I haven't seen in her character where she would be someone who would be tempted by that. You just believe that in the Lord of the Rings. But the character they're sending up, it seems very different to the person she ends up being. And I'm trying to figure out how that... I don't know if the story is playing that out well enough that I see her being someone who is tempted by the ring. She seems like someone who just totally fights evil, even to the point of dabbling into evil. So, yeah, so The Lord of the Rings is going a backstory before what happens with Sauron having his ring cut off and it being lost for 1,000 years, and then Bobo Baggins finds it and Frodo ends up taking it to Mount Doom. We get to see how all that world is created and how all that happened, how all that played out. And it's slow itself. There's some cool battles in it. There's some mysteries. But I think it's setting itself also. The actress who plays her is, I don't know. I don't know what to feel about her. And I don't mind the other characters. There's a couple of characters that were in the Lord of the Rings movie that are in this time zone. Very young, very brash. So I'm feeling this one about 3.5 potatoes. A lot happened to it. It's setting up the backstory, and they just finally set up everything, how everything comes about. And we should see from here on Sauron create the rings, where he wants to control people, and he creates the one ring to rule them all. So it's definitely worth watching. It's got some things that don't feel quite right. I can't really articulate it now. I'm waiting for it to come into its own. It hasn't really, so it gets 3.5 potatoes. So, my friends, I'm going to end it right there. This has been a long podcast, making up for having been there for 2 months. So, my friends, if the storm of life... God damn it. What the hell happened? Dang, that was crazy. So if the storm of life come against you and you find yourself on your knees, stand tall. Take a look at that storm. Hold on. Everything will be in the show notes. Take a look at that storm and say, what my sensei Jack Byrne always says, give me your best shot. Strike the music. Hold on. See ya.